This video is an update to the original video introducing the Vantage Equinox lighting widget. It reflects improvements that have been made within Equinox since the first video was presented. The Vantage Equinox lighting widget provides the ability to monitor and control every individual electrical load controlled by the system. These will typically be lighting zones, but they might also be fans, pump motors, or etc. We'll just refer to these as lighting zones for the sake of simplicity. At the dashboard layer, we have a view of up to 5 lighting zones. Which zones appear here will depend upon prior selection of favorite zones, and this is specific to each profile. We'll review how to select favorites in a moment. For each lighting zone, if it's presently turned on, that is represented by the name being lit up in the Equinox characteristic ochre color, while the name of each lighting zone that is off appears in white. Touching each zone object will toggle that zone, turning it off if it's on or on if it's off. Now, a zone that's not dimmable only has these characteristics. A zone that is dimmable has the additional affordances of lower and raise adjust buttons, with the accompanying indicating bar that shows the relative dim level. Now, each touch of an adjust button changes the dim level by 5%. You can also press and hold for continuous adjustment. Notice that while adjustments are made and for a couple of seconds afterward, the current dim level is shown as a percentage in place of the lighting fixture icon. This is a new feature. Every newly created profile will show blank because no favorites have yet been selected within that profile. As we dive into the full screen layer of the widget by selecting the discovery dots at the top right of the widget, we're led to our previous view at this level. Now, if this is our first visit, we'll be brought here to this favorites page where all zones we have selected as favorites will appear, with the same first 5 as were on the dashboard layer on the left and the remainder to the right. If there are more than can be viewed in this screen, we can swipe up and down to see the remaining. Notice that in the full screen view, each favorite lighting load is tagged with the name of the room it is located in, which serves to improve your ability to identify each load within the favorites view. Favorites is only one page of the full screen layer. The remaining pages represent the property organized by area. Now, next to the word favorites at the top left, we see an arrow representing that touching the word favorites will give us more views. As we do so, each of the major area divisions of the project that have lighting zones will appear. It's worth mentioning here that this ribbon orientation has changed from horizontal to vertical, improving our view and our access to multiple options. The same vertical orientation of the ribbon appears in every Equinox widget today. If we touch any of these names, we are brought to a page showing the lighting zones for that area, organized typically within rooms. We can also swipe left or right, or we can touch the names to the left and right on the edge so that we can change between locations. Now, when we are within an area view, touching the name of a room exposes or hides from our view all the lighting zones within that room. Now, only one room will be shown expanded at any time. Now, by expanding the room, we have access to both monitor and manipulate each of the lighting zones with that room. But there is one more element here that we have not seen in our favorites, the ellipses to the left of each lighting zone. This is new. If you're familiar with the earlier version of the lighting widget, you'll recall this used to be just a star used to represent each favorite. But now there are more capabilities than simply choosing favorites. As we touch the ellipses, an adjustment window opens up where we can select or deselect the load as a favorite. But now we have a new ability to set a preset level. This presupposes the desire or the need to have select lights come onto levels that you specify rather than 100%. Whenever the icon is tapped. Now you can create a preset for as many of the lighting loads as you wish. As we close the adjustment window, notice that if a load is a favorite, the ellipses icon now sports a star, and the combined icon lights up in ochre to represent the load is one of your favorites. By making it a favorite, it will appear on your favorites page. Now, since we had a preset on this, if I turn it off and turn it back on, notice it comes to 50%, which is my preset level, as opposed to 100. Now, you may have noticed within the adjustment window the word color. Well, it's grayed out in most cases, particularly if the lighting load is not capable of multicolored lighting. But if you do have one that is capable of multicolored and you go to that, you will see that color is selectable. And here we have the ability to select the color that we want for that lighting load. Now, there are 3 devices provided to set the light color. The first, which we have selected, allows us to select between 7 common presets, from white, red, yellow, green, magenta, blue, and cyan. Notice we have to scroll to the bottom to see all of them. But if we select one of them, immediately the light should turn to that color. The second device is a color wheel. Now, if you tap a point on the wheel, the light will change to that color selected. Now, the change only happens upon a release, so if you were to drag that indicator, nothing's really changing until we release it. The third device allows for individual channels, the red, the green, and the blue. Now, if I go back for a second and we pick a color that is a mix, and now we go back, we can see that this is representing the current levels of the channels. We have a lot of green, full blue, and no red. And here we can make some minor adjustments. If we want to start with the one or the other, here we can come in and make our final adjustment. Okay, when we save this, when we close it, it will save, and now when we turn the light off, it goes off. When we turn it back on, it comes back on to the preset level that we just set. Notice also that the zone's icon turns to representative color to indicate what that color should be. Now, any room with one or more capable light will sport this tri-color indicator also on the room bar. Now, if you tap this, the same 3 devices for color selection that we just introduced are presented, but now the changes will apply to all color-capable lights within that room. Now, you may have noticed that the rooms have a number. Let me go back to a different floor. Notice that some of the rooms have a number, like here we have 1 of 2. And what this is indicating is the number of lighting zones that are currently on in that room. Now, if no lighting zones are on in a room, the number doesn't even appear, so we know by that there are no loads on. Also, next to this, there is a room button that indicates us and tells us indicates whether any lights are on, but also gives us the ability to toggle all lights on and off within that room. Now, I want to draw your attention to the 2 words to the top right of the page, on and all. These are filter buttons with the gray and ochre active status indicators. Either one or the other will be active. If all is active, we see all lights within the selected area. But if on is active, then it filters out and we see only those rooms where there are lights on, helping make it easy to answer the question, what lights are currently on within an area? Now, this filter applies specifically to this area, and a different filter may be active in other areas. Finally, we have the edit mode, accessible by touching the stack bar icon at the top right of the screen. Now, here we have 4 options: areas, favorites, scenes, and presets, these latter two having been added since the original version of the lighting widget. Within areas, we're shown the major area divisions for including and excluding of those areas from the current profile. If we don't want to show an area, we touch the check mark to the right and it will no longer appear in this profile. It does not affect other profiles. If we expand by clicking on the arrow to the left, we will see the rooms within an area, and we can say I don't want to see this room, the breakfast room, and I can exclude it from the profile. Within the favorites, we can take a look at all of the zones that we have selected as favorites. If we don't want that to be a favorite anymore, we can deselect it on the right by touching the star. And now notice that it's no longer ochre but white, meaning that it won't be a favorite anymore. The other thing that we can do here is change the order. And in fact, this is the only place that you can change the order of the favorites that you've selected. Now remember that this is important because only the first 5 will show up at the dashboard level. So if you want one to show up that wasn't before, just drag it into the top 5 and it will be there now as we go back. So if we go back to our favorites, there's the one we just added. Now the scenes option, let me go back in there, is new, and this is actually available now within almost every Equinox widget, allowing for presets to be used without exiting the current widget. So this is known as a scene tray, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to select a scene or multiple scenes, and you can select from scenes that have already been created and that exist within the project, within the Equinox environment. If you need to add a scene, you won't add it here. You'll go back to the scenes widget, add that, then come back here and it will be available for selection. I'm just going to select these 2, and now as we go back we'll see this little pull down. We click on it, tap on it, we'll see the scenes that we've just created are now available, and this is what we call the scene tray. So we can activate all lights on without having to go into the scene widget to do that. Okay, finally, the presets within Edit allow us to see all of the loads that we have gone through and have created a preset for. Now we're not changing them here, but this does give us an indicator of which ones have a preset so that they will come on other than the full on. If we want to delete that preset, we can do that right here by clicking on the X, and then that chandelier light now will come back on to the full level instead of to the preset that we just selected. This concludes our updated introduction to the Vantage Equinox lighting widget. Thanks for watching us. Remember to like us on Facebook or Twitter so you can access Vantage updates on those social media sites. We're continually striving to provide useful information for our customers and partners.